Hi, I'm Angela Casey and welcome to Edinburgh Outdoors, a podcast exploring Edinburgh's outdoor spaces and the people in them. If, like me, you're excited by the prospect of the Gladiator II movie, you might also be interested in Roman remains. The UK was part of the Roman Empire for around 400 years, and the occupation by the Romans had a huge impact on our society and our landscape. While many of us know about Hadrian's Wall, which is easy to spot as it was built almost entirely of stone, what's lesser known is that there was a second wall built around AD 142 by Antonius Pius that stretches across Scotland's central belt from Dumbarton in the west to near Bo'ness in the east. This wall was built with stone foundations and a turf top, and also included forts, fortlets, and a huge ditch. The route and remains of the Antonine Wall became part of a Roman Empire World Heritage Site in 2008. I've had a long fascination with the Antonine Wall since living right on top of it as a child in Bear's Den, and I'm always keen to find out more. Inevitably, like Hadrian's Wall, much of it has disappeared, but there are still some good Roman remains to be found along its route and around Edinburgh and through the borders. I spent a really engaging morning a little further west than most of my interviews, gaining an insight into how the wall impacted the central belt at Auchinstarry Marina in Croy. Today I am out discovering the Antonine Wall with Séverine Perichou, who is the Project Development Officer for the Antonine Wall. So it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, welcome to the Antonine Wall.
It's very exciting for me. I have a lifelong interest in Roman things. So tell me about your job and what it entails and how long you've been doing it.
So I joined the team in 2019 when we were in the midst of the delivery of the Rediscovering the Antonine Wall project. So that was a big project funded by the National Heritage Fund, so the lottery and Leader and the local authorities and Historic and Environment Scotland. So the wall crosses 5 local authorities. So there is a steering group of those plus Historic Environment Scotland. So they put together this project called Rediscovering the Antonine Wall, and the aim was to raise awareness of the Antonine Wall and generally Roman heritage in the Central Belt. So I was in charge of delivering most of the project. So we had around 30 projects, some capital ones like the mural we're just sitting next to. So we have 5 big murals that were put up, 5 new play parks, distant stones replicas, 2 big Roman heads, and also community projects. So in Bear's Den we did a Roman garden with the local church. Bonnie Bridge, we worked with the Green Hill Historical Society to create a sculpture, and we also worked with the University of Glasgow to create an anthology, and with local primary schools and Magic Torch to create comic books. So that's some of the things we did.
And the project was less about archaeology and more about communities, is that right?
Exactly. It was really community-led. There had been a lot of consultations beforehand to see what local communities wanted. So all the play parks were designed with the local primary schools. So little trampolines, for example, that actually is a defensive pits in front of the Antonine Wall. So they are now there as little trampolines.
But without the stakes coming up
without
through the
the
middle?
Stakes. The murals were done with local youth groups.
On the whole, the benefits that have come out of it have been acquainting local people more with the wall.
Yes,
Has
because
it? And do you think many of them didn't know about it?
Yeah. Usually local community group, historical societies and people like that, they do know, and they know a lot and are very, very passionate about it. But more generally, a lot of people don't know. So it has put it back on the map in a way, and if people come by the mural or the play parks, there are information boards, so it points it back, and we've seen a lot of people coming to events and, oh, I didn't realize it was so long. I didn't realize that this weird ditch in the field next to my house is actually a World Heritage Site. So it has raised awareness in the local community and in the Central Belt. So I think on that point it worked.
Yeah, and that project's now ended.
Yes.
And you're looking at another project now?
So yes, we're in the development of phase 2. That will be more around walking, connecting, and creating links between everything we've put in place, all the sites that already exist, obviously, and again, working with communities to create walks. It will be digital mapping with community maps and local stories.
And will people be able to walk end to end? You were saying you've done it.
Yes. So there is a way, so we've managed to walk it. It will be on the digital map. We have devised a way to do it safely. So if someone really wants to do it end to end, there will be a way.
I know from having walked from here at Auchinstarry through to Falkirk, you know, that is actually a lovely walk.
One great thing with the Antonine Wall is that we know the people who live there. They have left their names on tools. So here we're at Croy Hill and we have Bar Hill on the other side, but at Bar Hill they found a hammerhead with the name of a soldier engraved. So we know a man called Ibuchius, who was probably a Syrian archer, lived just there and was so fond of his tools that he put his name on the hammer. We have some Samian, so pottery, Samian ware, with it, because it was so expensive, the potters would put their stamp on it. A bit like now when you turn a plate around, you will have the stamps, be it Wedgwood or IKEA or whatever. And then two women also scribbled their names in. So we can link potters that we know came from one village in central France to two women who lived on the Antonine Wall. Not far away in Westerwood, we found an altar, and that altar was dedicated by the centurion of the fort. So that's quite normal, but he would always include his wife. And so Flavius and Zibia have an altar stone dedicated to Sylvanus and to the gods of the crossroads. And because they did that in every place he was posted, we can follow her through Europe. So here we have a woman that we can follow through Europe up to the Antonine Wall. We have this gallery of characters and we created little drawings of them. So we try to put them everywhere we can and just focus on the people who made the Antonine Wall. And not just military history, because you also had people living here. The Romans who came, yes, they stayed only 20 years, but most men probably had children. It was local women. And the Romans came from North Africa, from Syria, from Eastern Europe, from Spain, from Gaul, not just Rome. So it was quite a mix here. And in Beersden, when they dug out the latrines, they were able to analyze the contents. So it sounds very yucky, but it gives us a lot of information.
Yeah.
We know what people were eating. We know some diseases they were suffering of. And we know that they were importing figs, that they had olive oil, they had wine. We found some of the cooking ware that is very North African. So they must have been importing spices and some foods and use the local produce.
And do you think that was that coming by boat into Cramond? Do you think that's how it was getting here?
They could have been. They think that there was also a port at Old Kilpatrick, so that on both sides. And Cramond was certainly a logistic base. There could also have been one at Carridon, so just next to Bowness, because that's one part where we haven't found the exact end of the wall. So we can follow the wall till Bridgeness. And then there are a few meters missing. So there are a lot of theories, but it goes down to the force just there. But there could have been a port at Carridon, Cramond certainly. And then we're at the military road that runs parallel to the wall to link everything. And the military road still exists. It's just been built over. If you go around and you see a street called Roman Road or Antonine Road or even Graham's Road, if it's east to west, that's probably just on the military way.
You won some awards for your project, didn't you?
Yes. So for Sylvanus, we won the Association for Heritage Interpretation Award for the Best Outdoor Attraction. And Sylvanus was shortlisted for the Royal Town Planning Institute Award. And then for the overall project, we won the Scottish Planning Innovation Award and the Regional and National Cecil Award to celebrate thriving communities.
Brilliant. It's nice to get awards, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
and I
fantastic.
think
I hope you took this guy to the...
Yes.
Oops, I've broken him.
So this is Wee Marcus.
And you took him to the dinner. I know, I see.
Yes. Of course, every award ceremony, Marcus goes with us. He looks a bit battered around the edges now.
Is that a good party?
We have made him as a cartoon character. So we have a lot of little Marcuses doing many things around the wall. And we use him in everything we do with children.
So one of the things that we're always interested in on Edinburgh Outdoors is about how people can get involved in things, because the purpose of the podcast really is to help people find things that they can do outside. So obviously they can go and visit some of the sites which we've talked about. Are there any current or future opportunities for people to get involved or volunteer?
For the Phase 2 project, if we get the funding, we will be holding community consultation sessions about circular walks, and we will also have a project on community maps. So for that, just look at our social media. We'll be putting out the calls for everyone to get involved, and then after that we'll hopefully have a community grant program. So if people who are already in little groups of volunteers have ideas, we might have the funds to help them out. So we will probably not run a volunteering program directly, but we will be looking for community input for the circular walks and for the community maps. And for that, everyone who can come is absolutely welcome. So.
And that's organisations as well as individuals you'll be wanting to talk to.
Yes. Anyone is always welcome, and on our social media we're always looking for pictures. So if someone loves to go out, take pictures, just tag us, and they can send them to us, and we'll be happy to share. There is one volunteering opportunity is with Cycling Without Age. If someone would like to bike around on a tri-show. So Cycling Without Age has a lot of chapters, and we have funded 2 tri-shows along the Antonine Wall. One is here in Auchinstarry and the other is in Bonus. So that would be Antonine Wall related, and we gave those groups a lot of information, so when they pilot a tri-show they can also talk about the Antonine Wall. So that is, for that, just contact Cycling Without Age Scotland.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll put their link on the social media. Tell me about the film that you made.
So part of the Rediscovering project was recreating a film made by Professor Anne Robertson from the University of Glasgow in the 1950s. And that film, I think you can borrow it from the National Library, but it's a silent film, and she is just filming 2 men who were part of the Antiquarian Society. We're just walking along the wall and pointing at it.
Smoking pipes.
Smoking pipes, full tweed, ties, and at one point one of them takes off his jacket because it must be really warm. But as soon as they approach the site and there is this old plaque of the Antonine Wall, he puts it back on. But for the rest, you see a lot of cows, a few digs, and that's where you see archaeologists without helmets or anything, with ties. It's great because it's a snapshot of that time and of the roads. The M8 isn't there, the train isn't there, you see all the old cars. So the idea was to redo this film in a modern way, so with drones, with cameras, and so it's me and the former project manager just walking exactly where those 2 men walked. But we've added music and we've added people talking. So we talk in each place, we talk with people from community groups and talk about their engagement, what the Antonine Wall means to them. We talk with scholars. So it becomes a postcard of the Antonine Wall, and the old film is in there too, so you can see the difference in the landscape.
Can people still watch it?
Yes, it's on YouTube. So we have a channel, Antonine Wall, where you will find that film. You will find some very short ones, postcards of each local authority, and a lot of educational videos. This is one of the 5 murals we did with the Rediscovering the Antonine Wall project. So working with Recoat, the brief was to have a different mural in each local authority and not to have just military murals, because when you think Antonine Wall and Romans, what comes to mind is Roman shields and soldiers, and the Antonine Wall is so much more than just that. So here in North Lanarkshire, the focus was more on women, because not far away we have the trace of the Bia Peccata, officially the only married woman we know of on the Antonine Wall. So this is a mix of Vibia and a goddess and someone making an offering to the gods. We worked with the local youth group, the Croy youth group, and funnily enough it was only young girls who came to the session. And at Recode, a person doing all that community work is a professor in Glasgow, and so Amy, she's also a woman and an artist, so it was really great to see that interaction, to show these girls that they learned how to spray paint and what you could do, and then having also women here. Okay, here we are at Auchinstarry Play Park. So this is one of the 5 play parks we created with the Rediscovering the Antonine Wall project. So this one is brand new. There was no play park here. 2 of the play parks we did are actually refurbishing, so that was in Falkirk and in Kirkintilloch. And then we created 3 brand new ones. Every play park is a bit different. This one is the biggest, and it's catering to all ages. All our play parks have been designed to be inclusive, so you will always have trampolines for wheelchairs, which exist. I didn't know this existed.
I didn't know that
but
existed.
Here you can see one here, and all levels are accessible. So one here the idea was to have a Roman fort at the top, and then the civilian village or the Caledonian village at the bottom, and so you can go and raid the fort. So all the play parks are done in a way that you have information boards here. They're more you have little markers, so designed for children, but we always have at least one board that is also giving information for older visitors, so it's not just children. So here we have Ibutius. So Ibutius is one of the people we know of on the Antonine Wall, and he was with the court of Hamians, and so from Syria, and was probably an archer. So here at the play park we have a very nice sculpture of him in his archer's uniform. And here we have Vibia, one of the few women that is recorded living on the Antonine Wall, and she and her husband left an altar stone dedicated to at Westerwood's fort. So Westerwood is from where we are standing, it's to the east. And right in front of us we can see Croy Hill Fort, and on the hill, the crest of the hill is actually the Antonine Wall, and you can follow it to the other side to the next hill on Bar Hill Fort. So here we are at Nether Croy by Sylvanus, so that's just off Croy Hill. And this is the place where you have Sylvanus on one side, and we have a replica of a distance stone. So part of the Rediscovering project was to install replicas of distance stones. So there is already one in Bowness and Bridgeness, the Bridgeness slab. The Romans along the wall, as they were building the wall, each legion would put up a stone saying, "We, Legion number 6, just built 3 miles off the wall," and then the next one would add another stone. Some of them were highly decorated. So the Bridgeness slab is one of the biggest one, and so with the project it was decided that the other local authorities should also get one. So we chose stones that were found in each local authority, the nice ones, and worked originally with Glasgow City College, the stonemasonry apprentices, to recreate those stones, so to give the students the skills to scan an object, to create a 3D model, and then the stonemasons how they could create a stone like that using all techniques. Because of COVID, only 2 of the stones were made by the apprentices, but here, the one here on Croy Hill, was done by those students, and actually one of them has his grandparents living just down here.
So they can come and see it.
Exactly, so he was very proud to be able to show his grandparents and his family what he had done. And it's an interesting one because so some of the stones are highly decorated because that unit had a very good stonemason. And this one here, we only see a part of it, but it has a Caledonian prisoner.
He doesn't look very happy, does he?
He doesn't look very happy, and you have to imagine that those were all painted. So there was probably blood and a lot of gore around it. And at the top, a more mythical figure, like maybe Poseidon.
There are distant slabs in the National Museums of Scotland
Yes,
that you can see,
all
aren't
the
there?
original ones. So most of them are actually at the Hunterian in Glasgow, but the Bridgeness slab is at the National Museum, and you can see a few of them. And so here we have Sylvanus. So two of the distant stones have a big Roman head.
It's enormous.
He is big.
And what's he made of?
Corten steel. So
It's
he
fantastic,
always
isn't
looked
it?
rusty. We had people saying, well, but he looks old, he is rusty. No, he always looked like that. But yes, he is very, very big and has become quite a celebrity online. There have been a lot of pictures. There, yeah, hi.
Got lots of lovely dogs here going by. They're really nice. Somebody took a picture, didn't they, with the Northern Lights behind?
Yes. I think there are a few, but the first time, I think last year, where they were down here, so we have some absolutely amazing pictures with Northern Lights. Some did light shows. He was installed in December 2020, so just before the second lockdown. So we were not able to do a big opening, but he was immediately adopted by the local community. And the name Sylvanus comes from a community vote. So we went out on social media asking people for suggestions for names, and then we narrowed it down to 4 or 5 that could work, and then we put it out for the vote. So Sylvanus came out. So from here we can walk a little bit along the path and to see the wall. Last February, we were part of a UNESCO UK project called Local to Global, and we were the only heritage site and site in Scotland to be chosen to run a pilot. So through that, we worked with consultants about audience mapping and things like that, but we also had a little grant to try something out, and so that's when we did the community map in Western Berkshire with participants over 60 years. So it was 5 sessions, 3 indoors and 2 walks, to create a community map around the Antonine Wall in Western Berkshire, and then getting the local history. So all the participants were able to bring in their local knowledge, and the map really had the Antonine Wall but also all the rest of the history of the area, and shows easy walks for people with reduced mobility. So hopefully for the Connecting the Antonine Wall project, we'll be able to roll that pilot out to the other local areas.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that I thought was really great about the project that you've just completed, was the way that it didn't just restore the Antonine Wall and say, here you go everybody, you can go and look at it, but it was about how it connects with communities.
Exactly, and it's also creating bonds between communities and showing. So we, for the Rediscovering, we also had a project with refugees and asylum seekers, or New Scots, in every local authority, and it's showing, because the people who came to the Antonine Wall, the soldiers or the merchants, a Syrian trader and his son who came up. So the man who oversaw the building of the wall, Quintus Lollius Urbicus, who was consul for Britain, he was from North Africa. So we had people there that might be reflected in some of the New Scots coming here. So there is a link. So when working with young men who were refugees in a hotel in Falkirk, we could tell them, well, you know, there is a link. It's 2,000 years old, but there is a link. And also for people living here, it helps building bridges. So we had a great event in Peel Park with women and families and cooking, and so creating exchanges like that. So that's the idea. So it's one of the specialists of the Antonine Wall once said, you know, it was created to divide people, but actually now unites. It's a wall that unites all those very diverse communities we have along the Antonine Wall, because we go from very rich to quite poor, but it also unites with the 5,000 kilometers of frontier around Europe and North Africa. So it creates this bond, and you wouldn't think it there.
That's lovely and poetic, right?
Yeah. So here we're exactly on the ditch, so you see it. We are in the Roman Empire right now. On our right, we have a field that has been ploughed over. We're looking towards Westerwood, and you can see that little dip, and that's the ditch of the Antonine Wall. And if you follow it, it crosses the path we just took. And here on our left side, We are on Croy Hill site, so it's a protected site, and you can see the ditch is a bit rougher here.
Yeah.
It's still full of bracken. If you come in winter, it's going to be much more visible. But you can see this very deep ditch running up the hill.
Yeah, and in many places I think it's really just the ditch that you see that indicates
Yes.
you're at the wall, isn't it?
Yes,
'Cause you
it's a
can't
ditch.
see
The
the wall.
rampart, so there was a ditch, and then there was a stone base with a rampart on top, but the rampart was made out of turf, so that's gone.
Yeah.
But the ditch, so here is a great example of one side it being really used. There was a farm and everything, so it's only faintly there, and then exactly on the other side it's very much there.
It is there, isn't it?
And then at the top of the hill you'll have Croy Fort Hill, where you have a few information boards and you can see the outline roughly. The best fort to visit would be Rough Castle in Falkirk, because there you really can see the outlines.
I thought it was interesting when I watched the film with the two guys walking around with their pipes, that when they went to Rough Castle it was completely covered in bracken and you couldn't see anything.
No, and they were actually doing excavations at the time,
Yeah.
so that's when they got everything out.
Yeah, so now you go to Rough Castle and it's all really clear and you can see those pits and everything. It is a really good place.
If you go to Bar Hill, the fort is much more landscaped, so you will see the outlines more than on Croy Hill. Croy Hill is a bit wilder.
I think so many people must just walk here and not know what they're looking at. So we've seen the wall, we've been looking at all these fantastic parts of your project, and it's clearly been a really inspiring thing and has been very successful. So what's next?
So we are in the development phase for the next project called Connecting the Antonine Wall. And so it will be more centered on walking, access, working with communities to create maps, and hopefully making digital maps so that people can explore around the wall and the entire length of the wall. So right now we are in the development phase. We're looking for funding, so our funding application will go in around the end of November. Hopefully we'll have a positive answer in the new year, and the idea is to start in April. So look out for our social media.
Oh, well, good luck.
And hopefully we'll have good news.
I'll link all the social media through what I'm doing, because I'm really, really inspired by it.
Thank you.
It's
We'll
really
be looking for volunteers and community members who want to participate in consultations about the walks and the local heritage at that point.
So you yourself are quite keen on the outdoors. I think you mentioned you're going to do the West Highland Way shortly. So what does being in the outdoors mean to you personally?
It's just a way to resource yourself and just get away from it all, have a workout for free and see amazing views. So I just love being outdoors, even if it's just for a short walk. You always feel energized after that.
You're in the right job if you want to be outside, aren't you? And normally we ask people for their favourite space in and around Edinburgh, but we've sneaked off a bit further west today. Where's your favourite outdoor space? Where do you love to be?
One of my favourite walks is near Stirling, the North Surrey Reservoir. So it's a bit behind Bannockburn and Stirling. You can actually walk from Stirling, but it's Lewis Hill and the reservoir. And from there you really feel that you are away from everything and you get a wonderful view over the Trossachs. And then being based in Stirling, the Mayat is just always a favourite.
Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed meeting you, and thank you for giving me so much time and walking me around these sites.
Thank you for coming, and I hope your listeners will want to come to the Antonine Wall.
I hope so. Yeah.
Always happy to welcome everyone on the Antonine Wall.
And thank you for lining up the sun and no wind. I tend to record with wind, so it's really nice to be somewhere sunny.
Sun is always shining on the Antonine Wall.
If you've enjoyed the Edinburgh Outdoors podcast, please rate us on your podcast app and leave a review. And don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues about it too. If you know of an outdoor space in or around Edinburgh that might like to be featured, you can get in touch by email, Instagram or TikTok.